It's time for the main event. It's going to be Helix versus Flat. It's going to be a close one. Going to be a nail biter right to the end. Coming up next on Piercing Battles, episode number 9. For those who are new to the channel, welcome to the Body Piercing and Tattooing channel. Hoping you're enjoying the videos. Hoping you find them helpful and useful, but you may not know who this guy is. My name is DaVo. I'm a professional body piercer and have been since 1994. I own and operate the Axiom Body Piercing studio, located right here in Des Moines, Iowa, inside Skin Kitchen Tattoo. So today we're going to talk about 2 ear piercings. The first one is the Helix. The Helix is done anywhere along this area you see me pointing to right now. Usually done as far out as possible next to the Helix. Just so there's no confusion, this is the Helix of the ear, this ridge that goes all the way around from starting right here and going all the way around there. We started calling them Helix piercings a couple years ago. Before that, everybody called them upper ear cartilage. Now, flats are done in this area up in here. Usually can be done pretty much anywhere in this area up there. There are different names for some particular flats, and we'll get into that probably at some point. Like the Sheeman and the faux rook, but they're pretty much just flat piercings. Let's start round number 1, anatomy. Most people have the anatomy to do a Helix piercing. The only thing it can vary from person to person is how folded or turned over this area is, how deep back it is. That can affect placement, which we'll get into a little bit later. But for most people, they do have the anatomy to get this piercing done. If this is the only real disadvantages or things we look at is if this Helix is really, really pronounced, if it's very big, this area right here, the thing that goes, the ridge, it may take a placement. You may not be able to find rings that are going to fit all the way around it comfortably. Also, you may not be able to see the jewelry if this area is folded really tightly. So that's the 2 things that anatomy may dictate a little bit different. But generally, if we adjust the placement, they can be done. Now, let's talk about flat piercings. Flat piercings, most people have a flat area up here that can be pierced. The only thing that can kind of dictate or be a problem is some people have a flat area that's kind of folded and more like a hill. That makes it more difficult to just place that wherever you want. It can also dictate the size of the jewelry that can be put in there, etc. So on this one, I'm going to give it to the Helix. So after round number 1 on anatomy, Helix 1, flat 0. Which is on to round number 2, placement. With placement, if you're planning on wearing a ring, you want to put it out as far as you possibly can or as close to this area. This can cause problems and interrupt the possibility of wearing a ring. Other than that, you're kind of limited to just that edge of the Helix, how far in you can. Some of the areas, like when you go further down, can be problematic, just basically because of location. But yeah, placement pretty much anywhere. Flats. The area of the flat has lots of different placement options, some with different names for no apparent reason, but you have this really large area to work with. You have a lot more flexibility on where to place those piercings. With Helix, they kind of just have to follow that line. They have to be next to the Helix. With flats, you can put them in all kinds of different places. So this one, I'm giving to flats, making it a tied match at 1-1. Helix 1, flat 1. Now let's move it on to round number 3. Helix can be a pretty long hill. They get a lot more contact. If you can imagine, the Helix is out in this area. You're bumping it on glasses. Hair's getting caught in it. You put a hat on. You're laying in bed. I don't know. You're walking through a doorway. It gets a lot more contact. It can be hard and very difficult to isolate. Like I said, it has a lot more contact because it's further out with glasses and hair and etc. These are a little bit more prone to bumps and grumps. Grumpy periods are those bumps, agitation bumps, just basically because of where they're located at, and the jewelry must be downsized. With the flat, usually it heals slightly faster than the Helix. And that varies from person to person, but it does have a little bit of an edge. It is a little easier to isolate because it's over in this area. It's not getting all this contact like the outer part of the ear does. So it's a little bit easier to isolate. You still have to avoid contact with glasses, hair, and etc. And the backs, like being back in this area, behind it, can kind of get in the way of sunglasses and glasses. If you wear glasses on a regular basis, you probably want to talk to your piercer about that. It's not quite as, I don't see as many bumps or grumpy periods with these as I do with Helix piercings. And also, it's very, very important that it's downsized on a timely basis. Mainly because one of the things these are prone to during healing is migrating. Both of these will do these out of angle. And if you don't downsize, sometimes that will happen. It's important to get to that shorter jewelry, not only because it makes your life easier and easier to isolate with less movement, but also it's going to limit the possibility of your body moving it out of alignment. This one goes to flats. So after 3 rounds, we have Helix 1, flat 2. Round number 4, jewelry options. With Helix piercings, you have a lot of different jewelry options. With post jewelry, you have a lot of different fronts that you can wear in these. Width or how big they are can be kind of limited. Gem clusters sometimes don't work in this area depending on what your anatomy looks like. However, you do have the advantage that you can wear usually a ring in these if they're done correctly and you have the anatomy for it. With flats, you can wear really large, very, very detailed gem clusters, all kinds of fun stuff. But you cannot wear rings. So you're kind of limited from that standpoint. So this one I'm going to give to Helix, making it Helix 2, flat 2. So we're going tied in round number 5. Round number 5, living with a piercing. Helix piercings can be very, very difficult to isolate, especially if you put a ring in it. They are just prone to problems from time to time. It can be sore years after it heals just by getting slept on one night the wrong way. Or, somebody says something about it and it just decides to be a jerk for a while. They are one of those piercings. Like I've had mine for going on 30 years, and every once in a while, if it's just bumped just right, it is sore for 2 days. It just is one of those piercings. You may never be able to sleep on it completely, at least throughout the entire night. So you do need to take that into account if you are a side sleeper. The flat, it's a little bit easier to isolate. It's more inside the ear, doesn't come in contact with things as readily. Can be subject to abuse, mainly because of where it's located at. But you might be able to sleep on this one eventually. So this one, I'm going to give this round to the flat. Making it after 5 rounds, the winner, final decision, Helix piercings 2, flats 3. There really isn't a whole lot of difference between these two piercings. It really comes down to the style and what you're looking for. I hope this video was helpful in giving you kind of an insight into what the differences are between the two, but it really comes down to talking to your piercer, having them take a look at your anatomy, and figuring out what's going to work for you. Does anybody else have any suggestions or things you want to think about between these two piercings? Please leave a comment. Till next time, here's hoping all your piercings heal with ease and without a single issue. And if you're in the Des Moines, Iowa area, I would love to see you for your piercing needs in the future. Have a good day, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you in the next video.